So I carried on my day job, and about 2 months later, I had a call from Judith, and she was like, "I've got a walk-on role for Pobly Cum." Yeah, so I went to the Brit School. Adele was my little smoking buddy. But the reason why I do it, the main reason why I do it, is to show my kids that you can do anything.
Yeah.
Anything is possible, and it's never too late to do anything.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, thanks for coming in, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming down. I seen you first, like your article on the Wales Online, actually. I seen it.
Yeah.
And I thought quite an interesting story, the fact that you quit your day job and went into acting. So thought I'd have you down and just, I think, like this podcast is all about people's real experiences and how they're living their life.
Yeah.
And how they've kind of broke out the 9 to 5 is definitely something I'm interested in hearing about. So
yeah, so basically I moved to Wales in 2014. What originally happened was I was sick of my normal sales job. And I applied for Doncaster riding school to be a jockey. So I'd never ridden a horse before, but I've always been interested in horses. So I went and trialled for that, and I got into the school, and I ended up moving to Wales because I met someone. And I don't know if you know Di Birchall Racing Yard.
No, I don't know.
He's a horse trainer in Eberval. So I ended up working there. I volunteered like every day for about 3 months. And I went, the first day I went there, the first thing he said to me is, "There's no fucking money here." Like, as if to say, there's no fucking job. And so I kept volunteering. And then after a few weeks, there was like 30 quid in an envelope given to me, like just for helping out. So it all stemmed from there. And I just wanted to ride horses because I'd never ridden horses. And there was that stage I applied for Usk College to do a horse riding and management course.
Where did the want come from, to ride horses? Like, was it watching Westerns or something as a kid? Or?
No, just because I got an interest in horse racing and sports and stuff, and I didn't want to do a sales job. I wanted to be, because I think I'm quite practical. Like at school and stuff, I was always quite good with woodwork, that sort of stuff. I just wanted to do something practical. I didn't want to be in the office anymore. I did like lettings and sales and all that stuff for years. So I enrolled in the course in Usk. So I did a 3-year riding course, 25 years old. So in the classroom with 16-year-old kids, mostly like 60-year-old girls who all got their own ponies and stuff. So I did that. And then I got a couple of racing jobs. So I then moved to Lambourne briefly for a very short stop. Hated it because the money was rubbish. Early calls.
Could you like bet on yourself to lose, or?
Yeah. I just didn't like it. So I did a couple of racing yards, and then I come back as I'm not doing it. So I thought, right, I go back into sales, and then I ended up in a call centre in Blackwood, and there's this. So I'm in the valleys, English guy in the valleys. I'm in a call centre with mainly men, and obviously being ginger's hard as it is, and the banter was, banter's banter, isn't it? But I just was sick of it, and it was 2019, and I had a couple of beers, and I don't know how I stumbled across it, but basically I was going through some like old YouTube videos that I uploaded years ago. There's my old showreel on there. So I drunkenly sent an email to an agency in Cardiff. I said, I went to the Brit School, I wrote this brief email and sent it off, didn't think anything. And about a day later, I had a message back saying, "I really enjoyed that. It's a bit old, you can't use it, but we do extra work and we do acting work as well. So I see if I can find you something." So I carried on my day job, and about 2 months later, I had a call from Judith, and she was like, "I've got a walk-on role for Pobly Cum." Don't even know what Pobly Cum is. A Welsh soap for anyone that doesn't know. And it stemmed from there. 4 months later, I left my job and just kept growing from there.
So can you speak Welsh now?
I can't.
You can't?
I can't. No.
Is it just read it? Do you have to read lines then just for Welsh?
So the Welsh TV series I'm in called The Museum, I won't even attempt to say the Welsh version of it. What happened with that is I had an audition, a self-tape request through, and I had to do like these angry faces, like all these different things for this, like angry faces, and they wanted a baseball cap. I didn't have a baseball cap, so I knocked my next door neighbour in the middle of the pandemic. I said, "We got a baseball cap." So I did all that, sent it off, and then they messaged me to say, "Scott, you've been released." I was like, I don't even know what the show's for. This was like the first proper acting job I got. So I left it a few weeks, and I had I was on set for something else, and I had a message to say, "Oh, Scott, they like you again. can you resend the tape? So I resent the tape through. And then I'm on, then the next day I'm back on set. I have a message from the agency, and I was just doing some extra work for, I can't remember what the show was for. They said the director wants to have a Zoom call with you right away. So I did all the Zoom call and stuff. I ended up getting the role, and I turned up the following week. There's no script and stuff. And I said to one of this chap here, I said, so who's filming tonight? He said, oh, just pretty much you. They've got all this crew and stuff. I'm like, I've not seen any script. I've not seen anything. So I did that. And then after the Christmas after that, I had a call to say that I got the full contract character throughout the series. So it just sort of, it's kind of like, just little bits just keep coming. Do you know what I mean? That's how it worked for me anyway.
Were you like nervous that first night then, when you realised like it was kind of on you?
Not really. Acting's quite weird because it's so real, and in the moment I don't get nervous. Does that make sense? Like this
Do you like put yourself in that moment then?
Yeah, I think if you're comfortable in the character, I think it becomes easier. It's so weird because some people like, don't you get nervous, or like if I went on stage and spoke to people, I'd probably be a bit shaky and a bit nervous. But it's quite surreal. It's very. I think the skill of acting is being as realistic and as natural as you can, not like overacting, sort of thing. So just being yourself, really.
Yeah. So you said you went to a school before to do that. So obviously it's not like your first rodeo then, is it? You know where you're up against, I suppose, like with it.
Yeah. So I went to the Brit School. Adele was my little smoking buddy in the smoking corner.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
There's a girl called Jessica Cornish, which you know is Jessie J.
Yeah.
She was in my year as well. Will Bailey, who's the Paralympian. There's a few of the stars.
That's a pretty crazy. Do you get Adele to put you on now, like?
Thing is, I've not spoken to her since I've been at the school, so she probably like, who's this guy?
To like DM her, do you want to go for a fag? Or?
Yeah. So what happened with that is I'm not from an acting family and not done any of that sort of stuff until I was about 12 years old. I did the classes weekly and stuff. So I was fortunate enough my dad would pay it's usually like the out of school acting class, you have to pay by term. So it'd be like 150, 200 quid a term, and I do like these private group classes after school and stuff. And I auditioned for the Disney Channel as a singer when I was about 13 years old. And I kind of got through to the next stage. It was like I think it was like Disney Channel's version of like S Club 7 or something. So ridiculous like that. I can't remember. But the auditions were at the Brit School. My dad was like, oh, this is a free school. Maybe you should try this. So about 2 years later, I auditioned for that. I did all the workshops, did all that. And I remember them saying to me, they said, I was one of the most talented individuals they've ever auditioned. Now, on the way home from that, this is a true story, we were supposed to drive down the M3 back to Southampton, where I'm from, but there was some sort of accident, so we got diverted. And I ended up in a car accident. So what happened, there was a bike on a dual carriageway, and we swerved the bike, we smashed into 3 cars, rolled down into a ditch, and all I remember is closing my eyes, opening my eyes, and like the fire brigade are all there. There's a big tree branch and stuck into the top of the car. And that was from the audition. So that was 12th of December 2003. I didn't get on a train, didn't get on a bus for about a year, too afraid to get in a car. So I kept commuting to the Brit School. So I went to the Brit School. I finally got in. I got my, they awarded me like a scholarship. So I went and did that. But about 6 months into the course, I would, because I was so scared of getting on trains or stuff like that, just because of like this
traumatic, I bet, isn't it?
From the car accident, I would get a train from Croydon to Victoria. Now I was okay getting the train because the train would stop like every 30 seconds, so it would stop like Thornton Heath.
And it's fixed, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, it's like so I can get off like every 20 seconds. So I'd get so the train from if I was getting a train from Brit School to Southampton, it would be like 2 hours. But I was getting a train all the way into London, which would take an hour. I would then get the National Express coach, just because it would stop like Winchester, Basingstoke, all these.
So you'd know you'd have an out if you
and
started to panic.
And I would always sit by the front seat as well. So if a coach arrived and there was no space at the front, I'd wait for the next one, which was like half an hour later.
Wow,
and eventually it just done me in, so I didn't end up finishing the school. And that was sort of like the end of my acting beginning.
Now you're back.
I know I'm back. Unfinished business.
Yeah. Mate, it's a mad story. So you obviously got them acting roles now recently. Yeah. And then, so did you know when the second you had that, you had to quit your job? Was it like immediate sort of thing?
No, so I quit my job before I got the TV series on the museum, and before I did it was called The Offenders, it's called The Outlaws now, but it was called The Offenders the whole time when we were filming. They changed the name of it. But I was just literally just doing extra work, student films, short films, everything I possibly can. And that was bringing in an income, which wasn't as much as I was earning from a sales job, but it was enough to live. Yeah. I was like, well, I'm not doing this job anymore. I'm doing this because I enjoy it. And I think what's helped me is, I think what a lot of people find difficult, particularly with acting, is if they've got their day job and trying to manage like an acting career, it makes it harder. But if I'm going to set to get paid to do short films or extra work, all these different things, it keeps my eye on the ball.
Yeah.
Did you see what I mean?
Well, you're more open to opportunity, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah.
It's like me now, I'm in a 9 to 5, and I've been offered to like go do a podcast here, go do this and that, but I'm like, I've got 40 hours a week, which I can't do that in.
Sure.
So you're up against it then, aren't you? You're trying to squeeze things in, and you kind of, I always say to my missus, I said like I've looked at starting businesses and all in the past, and I'm like, she's like, oh, you need to build it up on the side. And I'm like, but I'm throwing away 40 of my best hours a week then. You are, aren't you? Like, because you spend so much energy doing that. By the time you finish that, like, the thought of having to go again, and it's quite difficult. Like, you've got to be really highly motivated to do both.
It is.
But, so that was probably a really good transition for you to get out, and because like money's not the be all and end all, is it? And like you said, now like you've got, obviously you had that role, but you've got all this free time as well to expand into something else, haven't you? It's
so difficult because there's so, like, the thing with an actor is there's no certificate. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things, like practicing your self-taping and practicing your acting skills, and you can do voice work. And it's just never ending. And there's no guarantee for a role. So unless you fit the brief exactly and everything they're looking for, you're never getting the part anyway. So it's...
Faya was talking a lot about like typecast, pretty much, isn't it? A face has got to fit, in it.
Yeah, well, I played like a henchman on the museum, a bad guy. I'm a bad guy on the Outlaws. Yeah. I'm in a new film which I'm going to the premiere in a couple of weeks called Code of Silence. I played George Cornell, who was a London gangster who was shot.
You seem like a rough guy, I gotta be honest.
Yeah. I did that. Something else I can't talk about, which comes out next year. Again, another bad guy. It's just...
So it's rolled in then, it hasn't... the train hasn't stopped, like...
No, it hasn't, no.
Yeah. So is the scar from the car accident?
No, funny enough, so that car accident, when I went on all the way back from my audition for the Brit School, my dad was driving. Now, this accident, I was 18 months old, and I think I'd just been to the hospital for just like, I don't know if it was like a vaccination or just like a checkup. My dad was a taxi driver at the time, but he had one of those London cabs.
Yeah.
And so I'd come out of the hospital, sat in my mum's lap on the back of the taxi. We drove off outside the hospital. My dad slammed the brakes on, and obviously it was in the 80s before seatbelts and stuff. Legally had to wear them. And I'd smashed into the screen, the back of the screen, and apparently the scar went all the way to the top of my head. You could see inside my skull. They thought they killed me.
Oh, my God.
So if I ever... Because my mum and dad aren't together, but if I ever asked them about it, I was a bit cagey about it, so obviously they didn't want to talk about it. So.
Yeah. So maybe you and cars aren't mixing very well then.
No, definitely not. And my car was... I had to take the car to the garage today. I just have so much bad luck with cars. So.
Oh, mate, I think it's just cars in general, isn't it? They're a fucking nightmare. Like, we're trying to get a new one now, and the price of them has gone through the roof at the minute.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The price of anything, to be fair, and inflation seems to be like...
And if you get finance on a car, the time you paid it off, the car's not worth anything.
I know, it's dead money, innit? That's why, to be honest with you, most of the time I'm driving around in like a bag of nails, because I hate spending money on like a car, which it's just never a good investment, is it? No. Like a house or whatever, like you can understand, can you? Although that's a money pit as well. But,
it is.
But yeah, so I think I read in the Wales and Line thing, you got 2 kids as well. Is that?
I've got 4 children.
4 children.
I've got
sorry.
two in Southampton.
Yeah.
2 here in Wales. Yeah.
So that must have been like another thing like to worry you when you're making the jump as well, and it's kind of like another pressure in it.
It is, but the main reason why I'm doing it is I want to show my children the main reason, because it's not about the money's not that great anyway. I mean, unless you're the main star on a Netflix series or something, the money's not great. When you work out, like for example, let's say you're on a TV series and you work 3 months of the year. Okay, it might be good money, but that's to cover for your whole year. So the money's not great. But the reason why I do it, the main reason why I do it, is to show my kids that you can do anything. Yeah. Anything is possible. And it's never too late to do anything.
Yeah. No, I respect that. That's like the same reason I kind of started this, is like, I just thought like I've been holding myself back for years, like maybe lack of confidence, thinking what other people are going to think of you rather than just plowing on. And actually, like, you got this vision, just go after it. And why are you letting the thought of what other people are thinking stopping you? It's not even what they're thinking. They're not even thinking, you can't do that. Like, and even if they are, fuck them, innit?
That's it. Gives you more reason to go out and do it, you know? It
does. It's just making that jump in it. I think people find it hard to just do what they actually want to do under like the thought of judgment. Like, it's such but we do live in this like social pressure cooker, don't we? Which is quite hard to kind of get your head out of sometimes when you're thinking about doing something.
It is. Everything is. The whole social media thing it's all about me, isn't it? And how great I'm doing. It's like sometimes if I don't do it, but like, for example, if you're eating dinner, you feel like a need to take a picture and show you people your dinner. It's just gone crazy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You can, literally now you know what everyone's had for dinner, and in work, like, you used to be a running female and be like, oh, what did you have for tea last night? In the office, I don't know if that was like a thing in your office, but no, just the weird one I'm in then.
Yeah.
But you don't even need to ask now. No. Everyone knows. Like, it's social, but it does the complete opposite. I think it makes everyone unsocial. Like in the call it like the bait room, like the lunch room in work, used to have like maybe 20 people in there. They'd all be talking. Like when I first started 9 years ago.
Yep.
And now, like, if you were to go in there, there's literally maybe like 2-3 people talking. Everyone's on their phone. It's just like, if you could have said 20 years ago, we're going to make a device, and like they did like a promo video of this device and everyone's just staring at it.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the fuck is that thing? Like, wouldn't you?
You would.
You'd be like, must be like a diamond or something like proper valuable they can't stop looking at. But
definitely. It's
just this thing in our hand, which it's all fake as well, isn't it?
Talking about social media, can I say something? One thing that really annoys me, I don't know if you find it, is ghosting. Do you find it rude? For example, like, I just want to share an example. So I've been on set with some actors. They're not, they're quite successful in their field, but they're not famous, they're not global or anything like that. So I've shared one-to-ones with them. They know everything about my life. We've eaten dinner every day. We've worked every day together. Now, some of them have got private Instagram accounts. So what's happened is a couple of people followed me. I followed a couple of other people. Now, what they've done is they've accepted my follow, but not followed back. I don't
not happy.
No, it's not like an ego thing. I just think it's really rude. I just think there's a social media. It's like there's this massive thing about follow me and I won't follow you back. I think networking. What I've learned, it's all about networking. It's all about helping other people. Do you know what I mean? You never know when you need someone to design something or to do this.
No, and also like we touched on it before you come on. Like, just because if you've got like 200 followers or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're not the most talented person in that pool.
No, exactly.
Like, it doesn't mean anything.
I met this one guy. I was on set and he had a friend who's a rapper, and he's so talented. Like, he could be the next big star. 600 followers.
Yeah.
And it
doesn't make sense, does it?
It doesn't.
It's just because, well, like, I've had a couple of rappers on here, like local ones from Newport and stuff, and their music's really good. But it's like, because you're from Newport, and maybe it's a weird thing in Wales, I find, like, as well. People don't necessarily get behind you the same and like push you and share you and stuff. Like, people, maybe it's just like people they don't like to do. But say if it's someone famous who says something that's completely like doesn't make sense or is completely irrelevant, they'll share that because they don't know them. It's no attachment to them. But I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't know if it's. I'm not talking like from my own self, but from people I see out there. Because like a lot of my mates are really good as gold. But I don't know if it's like a jealousy thing or what. But
It's weird because, like, on my Instagram, so I've got old school friends there that I don't really know. Like, when I've been on TV shows, I've had people message me, like, saying, "Oh, I saw you on the TV, it's so cool," and they followed me, and I followed them back. I could just not follow them back, but it's polite. It's,
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean, yeah. If it's someone you know and you're going to talk to them outside of it, like, that's a real, like, you both follow each other. It's like a friendship, isn't it?
Yeah,
as such.
sure.
But if it's someone you, like, I don't follow everyone who follows me by any means, but
no, of course.
But if it's someone I know and I speak to them, like if me and you now, like, I'm not going to not follow you.
No, exactly.
I feel like this is like a connection. You know each other, 100%. Don't you? Every person I've had down here, it's like you spend an hour and a half speaking to someone, you do kind of know them.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You can't hide yourself for an hour and a half, I don't think.
No.
At some point, like, it's going to come out.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I don't know, mind you're an actor, so I don't know.
I mean, like if I bumped into someone on the street and they said, "Oh, I saw you on this TV show, it's great," and they followed me, I probably wouldn't follow them back. But if you've worked with, do you know what I mean? If you've had a professional relationship, or you felt like they're your friends, you know, you're going to work with these people, you think they're your friends, and the fact that they've accepted the follow and not followed back, and I'm kind of like, so I just unfollow them. I've done it about 6-7 times this year, and the only reason why it's not an ego thing. I look at social media as a whole. Like, it's for everybody.
Well, initially as well, I don't know about you, but until I started doing this, like, I've got my own personal one as well.
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't even ever care when I posted anything on there about how many followers, likes, or anything until I started doing this, because you kind of got to measure the metric to a certain degree, see what works or not. But, like, I just never used to care. No. I try not to care now. Like I said to you before, I try to just, right, I'm just going to do what I think's right, put it out there, and hopefully something will come of it. But yeah, like, on my own personal one, I never used to care what anyone would like, comment, whatever. It doesn't matter, does it? It was just literally to network and talk to your friends. And, like, for a while I deleted Facebook for a couple of weeks, and I tell you what, I felt so much better for just not having, it's like I don't know, like a ball and chain, really, to you a little bit. Something you just keep flicking open and scrolling through, and kind of, I don't know about you, but it just makes me feel weird. Like,
I'm the same. I've had Twitter. I've deleted Twitter. I don't really use. I've got Facebook, but not really a professional Facebook. It's like sort of personal. It just makes you feel negative. The whole, like, even my professional Instagram, it makes me feel negative. Yeah. Like, I don't like posting things about myself. I feel like I have to. I'm only on there because it's for, you know, if I was 65 years old and I've achieved everything I wanted to achieve, I would delete my Instagram account. Yeah. Like, even if I had 50 million followers.
Yeah. I had a guy on here. I think he's done a little bit of acting. Wasn't fair. Some other guy, Adam King, he was on SAS Who Dares Wins.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, he was saying, he's made an Instagram for his daughter, and he's like, his thing is, like, in 10 years' time, this is going to be able to make him, like, money or whatever. Sure. Everyone's going to be on there, and it's going to be a type of currency. And, like, I just had a daughter 4 months ago, and I'm thinking, like, that's the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's wrong, but, like, I don't want her anywhere near it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like those all those newspaper articles. They'd like, what do your children do? You know, I'm like, no, because he said to me, "Oh, can I mention your kids? You know, all this." I said, "You can say I've got children."
Yeah,
and that is it, because it's not their fault. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a pressured. Everything's just so pressured. You know, like, everyone's pressured to do everything. You know, and just let kids be kids, I think.
Yeah, I know. Well, like, I didn't really talk about it on here. Only like, as time's gone on, I've talked about it more. But, like, I haven't posted a photo. Only, like, with the back of her head or whatever, like, with me, like a family kind of photo. But I'm not really interested in, like, pushing my baby out there, because I do think as well there's a bit of, like, if you put a baby on, you get loads of likes for that. Yeah, I'm not into that. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't care. I don't want to be able to get likes from, like, putting my baby on there, like, because it's fucking weird. I think it's weird anyway.
It's interesting because I'm just going from my experience, but there's a few industry professionals that have got Instagram and stuff like that, and they're private and they post all their kids, and they're quite successful and quite well known. And I think to myself, that's quite cool, because they've only accepted friends, you know. They do all their family stuff.
I agree. That's pretty.
But if you look on my Instagram, I mean, unless it was a birthday, which I try not to do, or Christmas Day, I might put the odd picture on the story, but I just don't it's just professional.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm not very good at it. Maybe that's what I should do.
Well, I think as well there is an element of I suppose they feel like they connect with you better because that's what you're trying to get in it with people. You're trying to get like a connection. But I don't know. I don't want to use that to get down that avenue. Do you know what I mean? Course, because I want it to be. It's just sound really big headed. I want it to be about like me, not so much even me, but the person on the other side of the desk and the content, rather than like, oh, here's my baby. Like, oh, hopefully they'll follow me now. Do you know what I mean? Nah, I'm not like I just won't do that. I don't.
It's the same. I won't like if I take a selfie, I won't just post it on there because I'm not. I feel like it needs to be perfect. Do you know what I mean?
For you, even more so, for me, I suppose.
That's like if you look, I've only got like I don't know how many posts, 15 odd posts or whatever it is. But for me, they just got to be perfect. They just got to be my best version. The best versions of me.
Yeah.
I don't really understand it, but
do you feel quite a bit of pressure? Like
I feel a lot. There's a lot of pressure because I feel like I need more followers.
Yeah, you're purely judged as well on like
100%
everything you do, aren't you? Whereas me, like it's kind of a free run, really.
Yep.
You can be a bit more raw and open. Whereas I suppose for you, you've got to kind of.
And it's weird. Every time I do an audition for a TV series, so I've got a LinkedIn account, and my LinkedIn account it's got no qualifications or anything, but it said I studied at the University of Wales. I don't know why I clicked that. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I set it up years ago, but I have got a LinkedIn. I don't know. I can't remember how to log in and delete it. But every time I do an audition, I get an email to say that my LinkedIn profile was viewed. So I know when I'm auditioning for things, they're not just searching me on Google. They're going through pages and pages and pages of Google.
Yeah, I suppose as well. There's an element of like they have to look at everything because they may find something negative about you. Because like if you do anything wrong this day and age, innit? Like you're not getting touched.
Definitely. Well, so my name's Scott Rose. Marsh is my mother's parents' name, so it's her maiden name. So 2 years ago, got back into acting, and I was started to write to casting directors and different people and stuff and agencies and all this different thing. And I googled Scott Rose, Southampton. Like you just Google yourself, see what's up there, and nothing comes up. But if you Google Scott Rose Wales 2 years ago, comes up with this picture of this 6'5" Scottish guy who's a paedophile.
Fuck off!
Who's been convicted. Him and his wife, Mrs. Rose, been convicted of child sex offences. He's about 3 years older than me. He looks nothing like me. And I was like, well, I can't use that. And so basically, there's a Daily Mail. It's all these different articles, but the top article is a BBC article. And if you click on the article, there's no picture. It just says Scott Rose, I think 29 years old. It's like 6-7 years ago. Scott Rose, 29 years old, Peter, all these things. And I thought, at that moment in time, I thought to myself, okay, if a casting director searches me, even if they see that and they don't think it is me, that's automatically going to put negative thoughts into them. That is why I've got Rose-Marsh as my surname, as my actor name, just because of those articles. So I wrote to the BBC. I said, look, my name's Scott Rose, not the guy in this article. I'm just inquiring if you can bring this article down, 1, or 2, can you add a picture so people know it's not me, so I'm not that guy. They wrote back and they refused. They're like, no, we never take stuff down, we wouldn't do that. So I'm like arguing with the BBC a few years ago. I'm like, well, can you at least add a picture? Because the guy's a similar age to me. Do you know what I mean? I was just like,
well, it could, like you say, if they see that and they're like, oh no, it's not him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, that lingers, doesn't it, somehow? Weirdly, like, I know.
And just small things like, just tidy. I mean, if anyone wants to be an actor and stuff, and because you'd be amazed the amount of people are definitely Googling you. The first thing you do is, when you thought about me, did you Google me?
Yeah. I did Google you. It come up with some guy from Australia who's wearing like a mask all the time.
Oh, did it?
Have you seen that?
No, I've not seen it.
It's like, his name is, I think it's Scott Marsh.
Ah, it's Scott Marsh. Okay.
Yeah. So that was coming up all the time. Some guy in a mask. He was like at some award ceremony with a mask on. But it wasn't like a COVID mask. It was like a full blown balaclava type thing. You'll have to look him up.
Scott Marsh. I usually bet Scott. Right. Okay.
Yeah, but he's at some. I can't remember who it was in Australia. I think it was. Yeah. Some award ceremony. Like you may want to get mixed up with him a couple of times. He seems to be doing pretty well. Like, but yeah. So what do you think the future holds for you then going forward?
I just keep plugging away. This is the great thing about it. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Like some of these things, like I could do an audition tomorrow and I could be working next week. It's just I don't know what it holds, but I do know that I just want to do something brilliant. That's my aim. I'm not in it for fame. I'm not in it to be on EastEnders. I just want to do something brilliant.
Do you enjoy the process then?
Yeah,
when you're there on like set and whatever? I don't even know what that would look like, so it'd be good to hear from you.
Yeah. So just what, a day on set?
Yeah.
It varies on depending if you're a main star in a show, it might be a bit completely different. But if you're out, so for example, let's say I'm filming in London, they pick you up in a hotel, usually do your COVID testing. You'll get to set, usually call time's usually around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Someone will pick you up from your hotel, they take you to set, they put you in your trailer. Costume, when you get into your trailer, usually a copy of your script is there on your trailer. One of the ADs will come and ask if you want breakfast, what you want for breakfast, or usually you can get it yourself because of COVID and stuff. Then you go through your costume, then you go through your makeup. And it literally depends on, like, the industry's so weird. Like, for example, sometimes, so the call times might be 7 in the morning till 7 in the evening. Now, I'm not in till the last scene, but sometimes they still call me in at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning.
You're just hanging around all day.
Sit in the trailer all day, do nothing.
Do you know, like, when you turn up that you're going to be there all day doing nothing?
Yeah, generally, because you get your call sheet, so it breaks down all the different scenes and all the different everything's on the call sheet. But it really varies. Like, sometimes you might get there, and you might want to do a pickup with it, like, or you might be in the first scene, or for example, like I don't know. Let's say there's a scene of this family, and you're a bad guy in it. You're not in the scene, but the director might think, oh, we want this guy in the background, just so you know what I mean? So you could be there.
Or to throw to you or something. Or
Yeah. So things can change, but so it really varies.
Yeah. So it's like kind of, that's kind of what you imagine it, like kind of hotels getting picked up here and there. So it's kind of like the high life then.
Not if you live locally, for example. So if I'm filming something in Cardiff, they probably won't pick me up in a hotel. So I get up usually I have to get up at 4 in the morning, get myself sorted.
Yeah.
Leave at 5, get there for 6:30. They just really, honestly, you won't know till you do it, but they're tiring, long day. Filming, it's tiring, long. You spend, so for example, let's say you're in the first scene, you do all your stuff in your trailer, go see makeup, go see costume, then they take you to set. Sometimes you can be sat there for like 4 or 5 hours just waiting.
Will they keep you there even if you've done your bit? Like
no, usually they'll release you and take you off. But sometimes they'll keep you around because they might want you for another bit or because you're in another scene. Lots of hanging about, usually outside in the cold, freezing cold. Particularly if you play bad guys, it's usually nighttime, winter, outside in the freezing cold. That's usually what you're doing.
And that's your
that's
wheelhouse.
That's what I'm doing 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. You have to get you some horse riding gig, wouldn't they? That's probably a good skill to have, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I probably got my agent, because of the horse riding.
Yeah, I bet they haven't got many people who are like a skilled jockey or whatever, isn't it?
Well, it's not that, because not only did I learn to ride, you did all the jumping as well. So we did like all different types of riding and stuff. So it's definitely, hopefully, but nothing's come calling yet. Hopefully you'll see me as a Viking with a big shield and a sword or something.
That'll be class, wouldn't it?
That'd be good.
So how do you go about getting an agent and something like that? Is that quite a hard process for most people starting off?
Yeah, it's stressful. Really, really stressful. So do you know anything about Spotlight, which is like a casting service?
I've heard about it, but is it like you've got to get so many like free roles or whatever?
Yeah, so basically Spotlight is it's kind of like the yellow pages for actors, but to get onto there, you either have to go to drama school or you've got to have 4 professional credits to get on there. So I knew very, very quickly when I started. So usually sometimes with Spotlight, it take people like 4 or 5 years to get on. If you're over 25 and you need those criteria, you've not been, to drama school and stuff. So they wouldn't accept me for my Brit school stuff. So I knew very, very quickly that I needed to get on there because I could spend 4 or 5 years just trying to get on there and I'm not going to get these auditions and stuff without being on there. So I sort of fast-tracked, told a few porky pies, and got myself on. So I got myself on in about 5 months. And that was me arguing with Spotlight in a nutshell.
Yeah.
They said, because they got all these different criteria, and I just kept emailing them. In the end, she said, if you can just prove these, you needed 4 credits. But in the end, she said to me, if you can just prove these 2 credits, I'll let you on. And I got on.
It's just being pushy, like.
Being pushy, and like in a polite way. But I just argued the case, like, I've spent all this money on headshots, all this equipment, I'm doing this, I'm writing the I just gave all these different reasons. I said, how can you deny me on there?
It's that thing of, like, again, with the Instagram sort of thing, if you're good enough, but people don't validate it necessarily.
No, exactly.
You may have done like 2 absolute banging roles and be the best person there, but because you haven't done 4, you don't even get picked up. Innit?
Exactly that. And that was part of my argument. So what happens in the UK, it's different from America, I think, but when you're over 25, you can't really get an agent without spotlight. You can't get spotlight without an agent, because an agent's getting you in the door. And then it's a case of the best way to find an agent is for a recommendation. That is the best way. But for me, I just emailed all these different agencies, and I got, I did like a batch of like 30 emails, didn't hear anything back, a few years ago now. And so I then went to an actor friend. I said, I need some advice. He gave me some advice, didn't hear anything back. Did another batch, didn't hear anything back. And I like worked on this email for about 2 months. And then the last batch I did, I sent about 25, 30 emails. I got 3 offers, just straight out offers. One person that wanted a meeting, and another person gave me an offer, but it was like 2 months down the line, so it was a bit too late. And I went with the guy who's got no website. Greg Millard's my agent. He's got no professional website. His email address is at a Gmail site, and probably the best decision I've ever done.
Brilliant, is he?
It's just an example, just like with Instagram and stuff. So he's got no fancy website. Like if you type in like any actor, you go find their agency website, and you got all the actors on there, all the lovely photos and all these different
proper showing off.
Showing off. He's in there. I had a call with him. I spoke to him on the phone during lockdown. I was on the phone for about 3 hours, and he's got. I mean, I've auditioned for. I can't say other, but I've auditioned for The Crown. I've auditioned for all these different. He's got me in the door for lead roles. Absolutely amazing.
What's he doing? How's he doing it?
I don't know. I just think he's been doing it a long time. He's quite old school. Lovely guy.
Connections, I suppose.
Yeah, just I think what casting directors rely on quality actors. So I think you see a lot of agencies that do all the glitz and glam, but when it comes down to it, have they got the goods?
Yeah.
And I think it's just years of that gets you through the door, I think.
Dealing with agents can be quite hard as well. Like, I only from like the other side of things, I've been trying to get people on the podcast and whatever. And sometimes like you just don't hear back. I suppose maybe it's because of like my socials and stuff. Maybe they go on, they go, no, maybe not. But I think it's quite hard to get responses.
So this actor friend, he said to me, 99% of emails don't get read by an agency.
All right. So that's you're up against it.
Completely up against it. So I reckon if you've emailed all these people, I would say majority of them have not even read your email.
Yeah.
Just delete it straight away.
So do you think if you keep popping up, like that would be a good thing to do, or alter it, or make it clickbaity?
Yeah, clickbait. So what I did, how it worked for me to get agencies to respond to me is I changed the heading of the email. So I didn't put Scott Rose-Marsh looking for representation. I think I put menacing, manipulative, cunning, all these different words into it, and obviously I got some responses. I think it's just getting people to open your email, and what I did was rather than attach my photo to the bottom of the email on a PC, I clicked and dragged it to the top of the email. So as soon as they open the email, the picture's there, so it's not loading; it's just there, above the email.
Well, sometimes I think that because sometimes when I do it, you tend to try to come across really nice and like polite, and not that you probably weren't, but sometimes like, they're getting thousands of them, aren't they?
Yeah,
like you've got to stand out, haven't you?
I think being straight to the point as well.
Yeah,
like my email was so short. Is this is my headshot, this is my show reel. I've noticed you've worked with this person. I would like to work with you. I've noticed you work with this person who I'm keen to work with in the future. Tell me what you think.
Just get rid of the bump, like.
Just that's what I did. That's the sort of thing I did. Tell me what you think, and then people, because I think it's like lots of people like their life stories, all these different things. I mean, it's different for you for the reasons you're writing to them, but I think keeping it short and brief, it's just so much easier.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Well, it's quite like anytime I go for an agent, obviously they want a fee for having people on.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I went for like try to get Jay from the In-Betweeners on. That's what I was thinking. Like, that'd be amazing.
Okay.
But it's just like completely. It was like I think he wanted like £10,000 or something.
Wow.
To do like an hour, and I was just like, it's just no. As you know yourself, like that's just never going to pay back in any.
No, it's not.
Obviously, like it would lift your profile and stuff like that, and maybe it would be worth it long term if I had loads of money, which I could just spend like that.
I mean, if you could afford to do that once a week, it wouldn't take long till you got
probably after a year.
followers. Yeah,
it would then start coming back in, wouldn't it? But yeah, I know it's just how do you even start like that? I know you've got to. I'm just trying to build like from the ground up, pretty much at the minute. But yeah, it is a mission as we've talked about, isn't it? But yeah, just keep pushing on, innit?
Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And
so you must be pretty determined to keep going, like sending all them emails and whatever. You never know what's going to come back, do you?
No, I don't. I think what helps for me is one, I grew up with red hair, so when you're at school with red hair, but particularly in England, almost like in Wales, you always doesn't matter how good you are at football, you're going to be the last guy picked.
That was it,
yeah.
The ginger guy in school with us was pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. The ginger guy is always quite. The reason why they call him fiery is because they just get. It's like getting elbowed all the time. So I guess, and I've done sales as well, so I kind of knew like a numbers game. Like, I guess it's the same for you as well, but it's all about numbers. If I do 50 auditions for lead roles a year, I'm probably going to get 5.
Yeah,
I've done 2 auditions this year for lead roles. At the moment, I haven't been confirmed for any of them, but it's just. Do you know what I mean? It's just it's a numbers game.
For every guest I get, I've probably sent 5 to 10 messages. Yeah. Like religiously at one point. I haven't been so much lately because it's just kind of naturally rolled in. But I was making sure I'd send like so many messages a day, just to be able to keep filling it. Do you know what I mean? And it got to the point where I could probably do too many. Do you know what I mean? But I think like 1 a week. If someone's listening, I think more than 1 a week. If it's like an hour, it's quite hard to like digest it. So I try not to do too much of anything. But I don't know, because you want to get that reach out there as well. Maybe it is better to do more. I don't know. It's quite I think like I could do with like linking up with someone who's like more experienced in the game or whatever. Because it's quite a new thing as well, I suppose, and a bit of a mentor. But there's not really anyone in this sort of space to do that.
I think anything because podcast is technically television on internet, isn't it? Everything is. It's not about who you know; it's about who knows you.
Yeah,
in everything,
it's all attention, isn't it?
It's obviously you got to have the skills or the talent or whatever it is to back it up, obviously. But it's all about who knows you, and it's literally a case of do they know you?
Yeah,
well enough, and it's just have to keep chipping at it. I'm not. It doesn't like any sort of rejection doesn't bother me. I'm used to it. I've done it my whole life. I honestly don't care what people think about me. I'm really, really, really not fussed. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, it's a good mentality to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people could take a lot from that as well, really, because it cripples people, doesn't it? I think into a position where they don't feel like they can be themselves.
Yeah.
Like I see it a lot, and just mental health at the minute, and a lot of people struggling and stuff. Yeah. And I think it's purely because you're kind of living in this false reality. I wish like we could all take a step back in a way. Like I'd probably, if everyone was going to do it, probably opt out of it all.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, all the Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing more satisfying I find than like there's a mountain just behind the house and just being at the top of that.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? There's nothing better than that.
Definitely.
Like,
that's one of the main reasons why I stayed in the valleys.
Is it? Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I love it here.
Yeah. Are you into any sort of exercise or anything like that? Have you got to keep yourself like in shape or whatever? Or
I should. Well, I'm actually looking to start a regime in the new year. But I go out and walks and stuff. I'm not. I should be more active than I am, but I'm not. I used to be, not so much now.
Yeah, up by you, there's some awesome gyms, isn't there? In Ebervale, like Planet Fitness. Have you ever been up there?
I haven't.
Something else, mate. I'll have to go up there for a session one day,
let's do it. Let's do it. I do. Being in shape again it could be another reason why you don't get a part. As an actor, are you there the exact brief?
Yeah.
I think, but I don't look at it. I never want to have like that 6-pack body.
Yeah.
I just want to be healthy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know, like, you know from in yourself if you're healthy or not, don't you?
Yeah.
I know I could probably lose a stone. So,
Oh, mate, I could do like 5 at the moment. I'm like, if I was going to be an actor, I'd be like Seth Rogen or something at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Although he's lost a ton of weight, isn't he?
he has
Looking
lost
at
weight,
him.
hasn't he? I watched an interview with him the other day. He doesn't like it when people mention about his weight, does he?
He doesn't know. And that
No.
was kind of like his whole shtick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On like Superbad and whatever, wasn't it?
But I think that's what
Oh, no, is that-
that's what his
yeah.
persona. That sort of makes him who he was. Do you know what I mean? That's
It is, yeah. It is like, because there's always that kid in like school in there
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
like really overweight, but is like the Joker.
The Joker.
Because I
Yes.
think it's like a deflection thing though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And as he's got older, he's probably realised that and he doesn't like it.
Didn't like
That
it.
like, I was using like myself as the butt of the joke, like, and
I think he's probably really successful now. Got loads of money. Now he wants the package probably to go with it, doesn't he?
yeah, he's like, show me some respect now,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, probably.
But yeah, there's some. Is there anyone you looked up to, like, as an actor?
It's kind of weird because most of the acting I do seems to be sort of drama, serious, bad guy sort of stuff. But I love comedy. I grew up on like comedies, like just 90s, 80s comedies. If I went to, like if I was going to bed now and I put a movie on, I watch a comedy.
Yeah.
Just love. So Jim Carrey is probably the go-to guy for me.
Do you think you'd suit them roles well?
No, not at all.
Wouldn't be able to do it, or
I'd give it a go. I just don't think it's. Just don't think it's me.
yeah,
I think you got comedy acting. So I mean, you can do all these like these like for example, I just want to talk about drama schools. Like you've got so many different drama schools now. Drama school don't mean nothing anymore. If you go to a drama school, it doesn't mean anything. In my view, if someone's been to RAD or been to these drama school means nothing. If you want to be an actor, you need to be a real person with real experiences. And I think if you want to be a comedy actor, you've got to be a funny guy. When you look at Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Lee Evans, all the greatest television film comedians are stand-up comedians originally.
yeah. Is that something you'd like to try?
I'd give it a go. Like
Yeah.
if I had a couple of beers, I'd give it a go. But I'm not. I mean, I do like quite a lot of dad jokes. I do like quite a bit of banter and laugh. You know what I mean? Do that sort of thing. But I'm not. I don't think I've got the persona to be a comedy guy on TV. I don't think I've got it. You know.
I'd have to be pretty trashed, I reckon,
Yeah.
to get up there and do that. It's something I've thought about, to be honest with you, just like, because I like to try to put myself into like some uncomfortable situations and stuff. And like, it's just it's mad what'll come out of you then, isn't it? You, like every time you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, you realise a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something like I'd like to try. I don't think I'm funny by any means, but it'd be funny for people watching me fuck up.
Yeah, I think give it a go.
Give it a go.
I guess if you don't know, if you've never done it before, you don't know if you're any good. But I just don't think I'm a comedian.
Yeah, I know it's tough, and when you see the greats do it, thing is though, I think though you compare yourself to like the greats as well, don't it? And I bet they've had like 20 years of like,
Yeah.
or at least definitely the first few years of probably weren't very good either. I've been to watch some in like Newport the one night. Me and my missus got some tickets, and we went, and I was like, I personally didn't find it funny in the slightest.
No.
Do you know what I mean? There was people there laughing, but it just wasn't my sort of comedy. Like, do you watch any comedians or?
Not so much. Like it's so weird. I don't get time to watch TV these days. It's kind of counterintuitive to what I want to do, but I don't.
Yeah, pretty full on.
So just feel like it's just the last thing I want to do is watch TV.
Yeah.
Getting from work.
Are you in between like jobs at the minute, or are you?
Yeah, kind of. So
Can't
I've been doing bits and pieces. It's not like full time, but generally, like I'm not one of those. Like for example, if I've got a week off work, regardless of what I'm doing, I'm not one of those guys who just sits down, has a glass of beer, and watches the TV. I'm always doing something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm always working on something.
You know, when you watch it, like say for instance, you are watching telly since you've been in the industry. Do you like dissect what's going on more now, or can you watch telly and just enjoy it for what it was? For
no, not really. Unless the show, unless it's like a really gripping story. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really, I don't know. For example, like trying to think of my toes here. I don't know. Like Shawshank Redemption, it's quite, you know, what I mean, it really grabs you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That sort of film. But if it's sort of like a comedy or like, you know, just like a normal TV series, it's not, you know, it's kind of like modern and not much going on. It's really difficult because
you're just picking it apart.
Well, no, because I'm thinking of the actor. I'm thinking, you know, could he done this? Could he done? I'm just thinking like how I would have done it, or what's he doing? Is he any good? The first thing I think when I watch TV now, if I watch anyone, I think, is he good?
Yeah,
it's weird. And it ruins.
I'm kind of like
me.
that though when like watching podcasts and whatever.
Exactly, because you're analysing it, aren't you?
Well, you kind of naturally, weirdly try to compare yourself somehow and think like, oh, maybe I could pick that up from there, or oh, I think I should have asked that. I would have asked that question if I was there. Then when you actually do it, it all falls apart anyway. I just end up in just a conversation, but you do try to naturally compare yourself when you're doing the similar sort of thing. That's why I was wondering if it translated for you as well.
Yeah, exactly the same.
It is a weird...
And it spoils it, really.
It does. It does, yeah, in a weird kind of way. So there's only a couple which I can really tune into just to listen to what they're saying. It's like Joe Rogan, like he's just... Do you watch any...
Yeah, I've watched some of them, yeah.
Yeah, and like Andrew Schultz, he's a comedian from America. His podcast is just him and his mates basically talking about what's going on in the world. So like this week they'd be talking about Ghislaine Maxwell or whatever, you know, the court case, but they're funny with it as well. It's not too serious. You're getting like facts and stuff, but it's a laugh along with it. But it's well, at the minute podcasts are just there's tons of them out there, and it's like I mentioned that when you don't know it, like it was 5 years ago, there's probably only like half a dozen anyone would know, isn't there?
I think like Joe Rogan, he was like one of the first to do it, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah, I think he's got the biggest podcast in the world. At the minute.
Last time I checked, it was like he's got, was it 5 million subscribers? Maybe more than that, or maybe it's just the views on it.
I think he's about 10 on YouTube, but he doesn't even post them on YouTube anymore.
Does he not?
He just puts clips on these. He's solely Spotify now. He signed
okay.
I think he signed a £100 million deal with them.
Wow, it's a good podcast though.
It's a good podcast.
It is a good podcast, and you get some pretty interesting people on there.
And like I like the ones where it's people you don't know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time, he has like Kanye West on. I watched that and I was like, but you get expectation, don't you? And it kind of lets you down. Yeah. Whereas you'll have like some doctor on talking about like coffee, and I'm like, fuck, that was mad.
Yeah, I watched one. What was the last one I watched? It was about was it about aliens or something? Just some random guy.
Did he have Bob Lazar? Was it
might be him. Yes,
the guy who worked in like Area 51 on the spaceship. Like that is a mental story,
isn't it? And he's saying about how is it like nuclear fusion, how they run, and the shape of them, and
and he was talking about it, and it's actually come out since apparently that like a lot of this stuff he's talking about is true.
Yeah,
but it's mad. Well, I was trying to think. They deleted all his records as well from where he worked.
That's right. Yeah,
but then they had like a paper of him being the scientist at that lab from like 30 years ago, or whatever. It's crazy, isn't it?
The thing I don't understand is why this stuff never makes the mainstream media, because it's actually really interesting.
Yeah, I know. He's putting stuff out there that they'd never touch. And, well, I don't know. When you start reading into things and whatever, you see that who these people are funded by is by people who are not going to fund them if they start putting these sorts of types of stories out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very true.
Like, I don't know what anyone, I don't like to get into it too much, but like over the last 18 months, you've seen a lot of stuff probably which should be covered by mainstream, which isn't.
True.
And, but yes, it's a weird world. Money in it at the end of the day, it corrupts absolutely, doesn't it?
It is. Let's hope this COVID thing doesn't last forever.
Yeah, I know. Is it affecting, like, do you think it's slowing up things for you, or?
It's just frustrating. So, for example, you have to be COVID test before you film, and then you COVID test on set. You've got to wear a mask at all times. So for example, let's say we're both actors on a show.
Yeah.
Cameras are all here ready to go. We've been tested at home like a few days before. We've been tested on set. We've got our masks on. So we'd do a rehearsal, whatever. Sometimes it might be with a mask on or a mask off. And then action, we take our masks off and we do the action. So I might be like...
You take the mask off, give each other COVID anyway.
Exactly. And we might be this close to each other, depending on the scene. Director will say cuts or whatever, mask straight back on.
Yeah, it's the stuff like that really like weirds me out about it. It's like, right, so there's a guy over in the pub having a pint. He leaves the pint then to get a pack of fags. He goes in the shop with his mask on.
Sure.
And then he goes back in the pub without his mask on. Or like you're in Morrison's and you're walking around doing your shopping and you decide, all right, I'm going to get a bacon sandwich before I leave, sit down, have a coffee and a bacon sandwich. And then everyone takes their mask off, sat down. I was like, it's just little things like that. I'm like, this just doesn't make any sense. If it was like, you know, as bad as everyone needs to wear them all the time, it needs to be all the time. Do you know what I mean?
I think from the government's perspective, my view on it is all they care about is statistics. And there's statistics, like, so for example, if we wear a mask, and like people in a pub won't wear a mask because they're drinking, but if you go to the shop, you wear a mask. Just bringing those statistics down, I don't think they really care if you die or don't. If they don't.
No,
know,
like
it's all
individual
about that
level.
statistic. So so in a year's time, they can go, well, I don't know, 50,000 people passed away. However, we didn't. If we hadn't have done this, it would have been 75. That's all. It's all about those numbers.
And that's a number you don't really know. Even it's a visual thing as well, isn't it? I think as well. If everyone's out there wearing masks, whether they work or not, that's like a totally different argument. Not scientists don't know. There's loads of theories of thought on it. It makes it look like there's something really bad going on.
Yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah. I think
it's all scaremongering. I don't know. I try not to keep this political. It's a good topic because I've been double jabbed.
Yeah,
and I only and I still don't know what to think about. I don't know. This. I just think. I think it's time we just get back to normal now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Otherwise, it's just been like I feel sorry for like kids as well. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like growing up in a world with masks, like some people have said to me, they just get used to them now. They think it's cool and whatever. But I'm like, that's like another layer. Like it's like your phone, innit? That's taking something away from you, like your social skills. Sure. I feel like that's another like if you're walking down the street, you see someone you don't really want to talk to, or whatever. I've done it before. I'm like, I'll look at my phone, like, and I'm like, they won't see me. They won't want to bother me then, or whatever. That's like another version of that, isn't it? I think
it is.
And it's kind of like you're gonna have more anxiety. I had this guy on here who's he's called the grief preacher, right? He goes around schools and stuff talking to kids about anxiety, depression. And he was saying like there's kids in primary school now who were like depressed, suicidal and whatever. And I was like, that's just like, that was never even on the radar. Like when I was a kid, I would never ever heard of anyone, probably until I left school, to be honest, talking about depression and suicide. But to be thinking that's coming into like a primary school is fucking nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think I just think the government really don't. They just care about themselves.
Yeah, and like you said, the statistic on this is so politicized. That's what it's about. Like everything else around it is moving in like negative fashion, but that's fine because this particular thing we're trying to work on is getting better. But
would you support an independent Wales?
I don't know. Depends what they want to do with it. To be honest with you,
I'm English. I've only been here since like 2014, so I'm like properly English, if that makes sense. Not like I grew up here. And I would support an independent Wales.
Quite a few people have said that to me recently.
I think that I want them to do it, in fact.
Yeah. Do you know anyone who's like running for that? Or?
I have no idea. I don't, like I said, I try to stay out. I look at politics, but I try and stay out of the sort of the media side of things. I don't like check the news and stuff, so I wouldn't be able to tell all the different political parties. But all I know is my reasonings, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. What would be your reasoning for
I just think many reasons, like poverty. So I grew up.
Oh, I think I seen you share something actually on Instagram yesterday, was it?
So here's an example. So I grew up in Southampton. I went to just a normal school. I originally grew up in a council estate, so it's pretty rough. I mean, a stabbing or a shooting in the city wouldn't be completely out the blue. People that had gone to my school had been murdered and stuff, gang culture and stuff. You get that in cities. Poor, really, really poor places. And you get like gangs, and you don't really get gangs in the valleys. There's no dog mess on the pavement. The streets are clean. Things get done. All the grass is cut. And then you come to the valleys and you get these things like there's always dog mess on every single street in the valleys. And you just see all these little small things. And I used to, when I first started, I was like, I don't understand it. And the simple fact is Wales don't get the money.
Underfunded.
So if Scotland, Northern Ireland, England and Wales are supposed to be under the same government, why isn't the money spread out a lot more fairer? So 1 in 3 people live in poverty in Wales, generally.
That shocked me when I seen that.
1 in 3. And it's 1 in 10 where I grew up. And what I find even more interesting as well, if you put it on like a scale, like if you look at the population of like Eberval, like 30,000 people, or Blind again, I don't know the population scale, but if you took the same population, so if you cut up Southampton to get that same amount of population, there's more successful, talented people that come from the valleys than there is from a city.
Yeah.
And that's down to having nothing. Yeah, and that's why I think I like being here, because I like, it's you know, for example, like if I was on a beach with a cigar, I wouldn't feel like doing anything. But if I'm living somewhere where I
feel gritty, a bit.
where I feel like I
and
need to dream, then you make things happen. So it's good for that aspect, like being here for that sort of stuff. But it just annoys me because you get the schools here are better than just from like Hampshire. Everyone's nicer, everyone's friendlier. The schools are better, but then the poverty is. We could go on it for hours. It just frustrates me.
Yeah.
It all stems from funding.
Yeah, it is strange, isn't it? It's like they don't want to put money into the area. Ebervale especially, like obviously you had like the steelworks closed down. It was quite like a wealthy area at one point. Steelworks closed down, lack of jobs then in the area, bound to lead to massive poverty, innit? And like when I was living in Rasa, like most people I knew up there didn't work at all. No, I'm not saying like it's down to them that they're poor or whatever. It's like kind of like you were brought up here, you don't want to leave, and there's not a lot to do around here.
It's such a tricky subject, but it's so frustrating because there's not a class issue in the valleys. So, for example, like how many successful people live around here? They all live, like for example, like a street I used to live in Ebervale. There's a successful guy who lived on the corner. Okay, he might have a slightly big house, but he's still living within the community.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen in England. If you get successful, you become a different class. You live in a different area. Generally, you know, I mean, it's not uncommon for someone to be successful in the valleys and then, I don't know, move to America or move to London. I mean, that happens. But generally, people, like Mark Williams still here, isn't he? He's a successful snooker player.
Joe
Kawasaki's still here. I mean, he's probably got a gorgeous house and stuff, but do you know what I mean? They still.
He would still. I don't even know exactly where he's from. He's from he's close to Ebervale, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, I've never met him.
I think he's still in the same area.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's not like he's decided to move down Cardiff Bay or whatever, is it?
And then that doesn't happen in England. Anyone successful in England, they move away or they go to the. And I think there's a class thing, and I think that all interconnects this poverty thing. And I just guess they need to fund Wales. The way I look at it is if there's, I don't know, let's say there's only 100 billion, it's a lot more money than that, but let's say there's only 100 billion for the UK, then split that up equally so everyone gets exactly the same.
Yeah.
So poverty's 1 in 10 in Hampshire and it's 1 in 3 in Blaenau Gwent. Split the money difference so it's 1 in 5 each way.
Yeah. They will want to take from them to make it better here.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the poor relation, really, isn't it? That's.
But then again, another quick way to look at it. So let's say there's 30,000 people in Blaenau Gwent and the poverty rate is 1 in 3. Let's say that, for example. If you added 5,000 wealthy people, that would take the poverty rate to like 1 in 5.
Yeah.
Because you're adding to it.
If, for instance, though, say you did go down the route of independent Wales, and there's 1 in 3 people who are poor here, and if we become independent, I would imagine all the tax that the people in Wales pay would go back into the pot for the people in Wales. So if there's more poor people in Wales, do you think like the richer the world, like how would it? Do you think we'd be worse off in some?
I don't
like
know.
if we're splitting from people who are 1 in 10 there, then yeah, I feel like that argument would work. But if we end up becoming our own independence, we're only taking tax from the poor people in Wales. Yeah. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
I'm not sure. We could. This is the thing. I don't know. We could be worse off. Or we could be better off in Wales. But this is the way I view it. The way I look at it. So let's pretend you've got a house. There's 5 kids in the house and 2 parents. 4 of the children got iPods, Macs, all the TVs. And then Wild Child's got nothing. He's got a single bed. He's got no luxuries. He's got nothing. Right. Yeah. That is exactly what England is doing to Wales, to that child. Yeah.
No, I agree.
That's exactly what we're doing. So what's best? So that child would be better off going to a bedsit, supporting himself. He might be worse off for the rest of his life. At least he's got his respect. Yeah. And he's supporting himself. So I just think Wales should be supporting himself. I just think get rid of England. I'm an English guy.
Yeah.
I love football. I love England Football Club. What if I can have one thing happen in my life other than family and career? I want to see England win the World Cup. I love football and I love England, but Wales should support themselves because I just don't think it's fair.
Yeah. Well, it may be the opposite thing. They may be 1 in 5 without England anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I'm just guessing here. I'm just trying to put some different spins on things, but yeah, it could be, couldn't it?
It's because it's weird because where I grew up in England, no one really talks about the Welsh, but you come to Wales as an English guy, you get digs everywhere. You know, I know it's only banter and stuff, and I can see why. I see, I see these things.
Yeah, that's quite a good perspective to have for you then, because like a lot of people may not even open their mind to that, and it being like from a different area or whatever.
Yeah, and it's such a shame because it's so, honestly, the valleys it's beautiful. I mean, I grew up sort of near seaside, so I see seas and stuff. But it's beautiful where people are friendlier here. Things are cheaper. Obviously, it's only cheaper because of poverty, because there's no jobs, etc., etc. But there's a lot of pluses to be here.
Yeah, definitely.
Bristol's down the road. I mean, all the filming I do is either Bristol, Cardiff, or a couple of other places, maybe London or other places. You can commute there within an hour.
Oh, really easily definitely from like Ebbville, or if you drive or whatever, it's straight run now. Especially since they've taken like the bridge charge away and stuff. Yeah. It's just opened things right up, less time waiting. You did mention on your post you wanted to make a difference.
Yeah, I do.
Like,
so
how would you plan to?
I just use. I mean, I don't want to be any political leader, but if I was in a position to say something, I wouldn't hold back. If Boris Johnson was here, I would tell him.
Yeah,
I'd say it's not acceptable. It frustrates me because it's so. You only really got to see. I mean, you walk around the valleys and the poor areas, you see how much worse off those kids are compared to the poor areas in England. People don't realise there's a massive difference, a huge difference.
Yeah. I'll clip that up and we'll tag him in it.
Yeah, let's get him on, shall we?
Yeah, that might be the viral moment we need.
Yeah, that might be it. But I'm sure it happens in other places like north. I know north of England have got poverty things, and maybe in Scotland and stuff. I'm not just saying it just for Wales, but generally it's just things need to change.
Yeah. It seems to be centralised wealth, doesn't it? More to like London and the outskirts and the bigger cities. Whereas probably up in Ebbville, it is quite bad. Like in certain areas, isn't it? Oh. It's not like so much rough. Like the people aren't like rough as such. Just like you say, it's just lack of money. When I was living up there, like, we don't mind me saying this, like, but my neighbour was like, out of a job and like wasn't very well off. But if I was painting my fence and I'd run out of paint and like I got quite a good job, he would be offering me his. Like there was never anything that was too much for someone with nothing. Yeah, it's mad.
It's like the people, like in terms of poverty, like the people are the same. Like when I'm like uneducated people, like for example, like someone that's like doesn't want to work, maybe on the dole or something like that. They're exactly the same as they are in England, exactly the same. But it's just, you can't explain it. You have to experience it. Like, it's safer. It's much safer to live in Wales than it is in England.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember the last time I've seen a gang in the valleys. Like,
it's only maybe some like 14-year-old kids who
just
aren't really
just hanging around.
Devilment for a laugh, isn't it?
But there's places in Southampton, there's streets in Southampton you do not walk down at night because you could probably, it's very likely you might get stabbed or something might happen. I don't think there's no no-go areas in the valleys that I'm aware of.
No, I wouldn't say so either.
I've walked. I mean, when I worked for Di Birchall, the area is quite run down, and it wasn't uncommon for people like to threaten me and stuff. But it's just normal. But you didn't pull a knife out, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's strange. But then again, if the poverty rates come down, would Wales start to would the valley start to become like a city? Would it become like Bristol? Would crime rise? And there's all these different things. But I just think. It just frustrates me.
Yeah, just sad to see it. Like sometimes
it's sad to see it because it's depriving people of opportunities.
Yeah,
massive opportunities.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. Yeah, well, like, we always think to ourselves, like I think to myself as well. I'd like to make a difference, but how, isn't it? That's the key thing is like how, because there's so many complex issues. It's not just such a simple.
Well, like Mark, for example, like Marcus Rashford, he's in a position to say, and he can make things. So if if I get a lead role in a TV series and maybe 20 million people want to follow me, then expect to hear things about this.
Class. I like it.
Because I will do it. Yeah.
I respect that as well, mate.
Yeah.
I respect that because there's a lot of people who don't want to give up what they've got to do that. Like a lot of people may have that many followers, but they're like, "Ooh, shouldn't say that. It's not politically correct." Or
that's the thing. Like with my Instagram, so maybe I'm the odd one, but I don't do it for vanity. I hate posting pictures of myself. I hate it so much. I hate having social media. I just feel like I have to do it. I have to build on it just because.
And you do.
For a professional reason.
Yeah.
But again, it's all that. It's that Ferrari in the drive, live in a £10,000 house. You know what I mean? In a council house, sort of saying that goes around. That's what social media is all about.
Well, it is literally like your show reel, and it's the best part of you. There's not many people who are like completely open and honest on there about how they're feeling on the day to day, and it's kind of like an act in itself, isn't it? Sometimes
if I posted me 24 hours a day on there, it probably wouldn't be doing any good for me.
Yeah,
in my dressing gown or smoking a cigarette, or do you know what I mean, or something. You know, it's just.
If you put too much on there, it'd be enough to put some people off, probably.
Definitely.
Like
it's kind of like, it's pleasing everyone, isn't it? So, for example, like if I'm going for a bad guy, he can do it. Or maybe they want me on a kids' TV series. There's a picture of me with a cigarette in my mouth on there. Maybe I should delete that.
Yeah. But
it's trying to please it's just so people look at it and think, okay, he's interesting, professional, popular, because of the followers or the likes or whatever. Great, I've done my job. That's all it's for.
And you're also like, you're being like typecast, so you're trying to hit a certain demographic with yours, aren't you? Particularly,
definitely.
So you can get away with like the cigarette in the mouth, can't you? Because it kind of fits the character,
exactly.
Fits the bill.
Yeah.
But have you got any words of motivation or inspiration for anyone who wants to get out of their 9 to 5 just before we wrap it up?
Yeah, just be yourself. Be true to yourself. Like, for example, like I don't like because I said about drama schools. I just want to go on that again.
Yeah, go for it.
Because they're part of it. So all these people go to RADA, go to these amazing drama schools. They mean nothing. Because, for example, like, I'm never going to play the geek. You know, I'm never going to play Will from In-Betweeners. I'm never going to play Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. And all these different people are doing all these different traits. Find your niche, what you're good at, and just focus on that. Do you know what I mean? So for example, I could be 25 stone, look awful, but there's a role for me.
Yeah.
If I just focus on that role, I think it's just honing on your niche. So just focus on your skills.
You're not going to be the athlete in a film, are you?
No.
Like at the end of the day, you're going to be the funny kid, aren't you? The Seth Rogen or whatever. Like it's going to.
I think so. That if someone wants to get into acting, that's what. Just hone on that, push that, and don't care what other people think. Just keep doing it, and keep doing it.
Right, yeah, awesome. Appreciate you coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Down. We'll do it again in the future at some point.
Yeah,
catch up and see where you're at.
Great.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy.
Experience Real Podcast.